Hi, this is Tanner Davis. I'm going to talk about the case study involving internet use violations. Mainly, we're just going to look a little bit more in depth into this case study and get a bigger picture of what's taking place and really look in depth and see what can be done and what should be done. So, first thing we really need to look at is what do we know? Roosevelt High School is one of the most prestigious schools in the state. They're in a wealthy area where parents are mostly doctors and lawyers, and they're up to date on the latest fashion and technology. The principal is Dr. Stephen Forbes. He's been there for 9 years. He was the principal of the year 2 years ago, and he is highly respected by the parents and students. One of the biggest things we'll be looking at in this case study is Miss Cindy Walker. She's one of the newest teachers, and she's highly educated, and she has very high standards for her class. She's a little older than most beginning teachers. In Miss Walker's class, it's very rigorous. The class workload is a lot more than most teachers and a lot more in depth. And then she's also very serious when it comes down to it, and she has really high standards and doesn't really like to mess around a whole lot and get the job done. Some of the class concerns for Miss Walker's class is Dr. Forbes receives many calls from parents on workload and poor instruction in class. Miss Walker has received help from Dr. Forbes to help reduce stress and have a more positive environment. The biggest problem that she has is not really implementing any of the strategies he's given in an effective way. And then the last thing that we're going to look into, and this is probably one of the biggest things, it's actually the biggest thing involving this case study, is the internet incident. Unidentified email urging Miss Walker to look at a website. The website contained highly suggestive comments about her personally and about her class. There was a thread at the end of the site, and we don't know who made the website. So some of the things we're going to look into that we need to know is being up to date with the school handbook and how to handle this situation. Did Miss Walker follow the chain of command? This is one of the things that I really feel is a big thing, is following the chain of command and making sure we go to the right people first. When and where did the email come from, during school or outside of school? And then who created this web page, and was the thread a prank, or did somebody mean it? And really, with that being said, it doesn't really matter at that point in time. We need to take it as somebody meant the prank, or meant it as a threat and not a prank. One of the biggest problems, first off, something in the classroom is upsetting students, whether it be the workload or how it is presented to them. Next, the teacher does not seem to try and fix the issues in her class. She is stuck in her ways, and this may become from being a little older as a beginning teacher, but at the same time, as a beginning teacher, we need to take advice and try to implement things into our classroom. There are many complaints coming in about the teacher that lead to the creation of the website. And lastly, but certainly not least, the biggest problem is the website and why it was created. Really, there's no reason for this to happen, but in today's world of technology, these are things that we really have to look into, and it's really sad that sometimes it comes down to problems like this. One of the first things, plan of action, I would first contact my superintendent. Like I said, I'm big on chain of command, informing them on what is going on so they do not get blindsided. Also, I would show them the copies that I had made. Next, meet with the technology director and update them on what is going on and to see if they could find an origin of where it came from. After all this is done, I would need to meet with Miss Walker and let her know what is going on and get some more information, also to settle her down so she knows action is being taken. I think one of the biggest things as an administrator is letting your teachers know that you are there. I would not jump straight to questioning Randy. This is where fairness and integrity comes into play. In this situation, you cannot go off one's word. You really have to, kind of sit back and evaluate the situation and think it through before you just jump to one conclusion. Some of the other plan of action. At this point, I believe you have to be patient and see what the technology director finds. While this is going on, you can keep your ears open and see if you hear anything. If a student is found doing this, then I would punish them according to the discipline chart, and depending on how serious, contact the superintendent again to discuss what should take place. Lastly, sit down with Miss Walker and reassure her that the situation has been taken care of. Also, to let her know that I am here for my teachers, and that if something like this happens again, to never be afraid to call or come straight to me, because these are situations that really need to be taken care of, and teachers need to know that they have the support of the administration. One of the continuing on plan of action is implementing it a little bit. We already talked about implementing in a way, but one of the other ones that I think it really hits, and we talked about the standard 5. Doing what is best for the student, but at the same time showing support for the teacher, integrity, fairness, and in an ethical manner. It also talks about holding everybody accountable. So we figure out who did this. We have to make sure they realize what they did and how extreme it was. You know, sometimes you look at it and you see that mom and dad, maybe a doctor or a lawyer, but as their jobs are, have very high standards, and they have to be held accountable for what they do. So there's no reason that their child should get out of it too. What is best for the students? Being fair to students, getting it right. In a situation like this, you don't want to be wrong and anger the wrong person. So you really got to sit back, make sure you do what is right. From the classroom standpoint, continue to help Miss Walker in trying to better her teaching techniques. And then also, I think one thing that it really doesn't state is sitting in and evaluating the teacher. Try to figure out how to better the classroom environment both for the students and the teacher. I think the biggest problem in this scenario, other than the website, is the classroom environment. Obviously, there is some hostility, and Miss Walker needs to figure out ways to take care of this. Um, and obviously, she's not enjoying it, and her kids aren't either. So something needs to be done. When I look at this case in debriefing the problem, there are two separate scenarios to think about. First one to me is the internet scenario that has to be handled right, and I think in this scenario we may overlook it a little bit just because we see the classroom and everything, but this is something we got to look at. Second is the classroom scenario that has to be handled at a later time until number one is figured out. I think initially you get caught up on the classroom scenario, but as you read along and look further into it, there's a much bigger picture. Keeping the integrity of the teacher and helping them out is a huge thing, and really sometimes there's things that have to fall to the side, and this is one that it's she felt threatened. We really got to help her out and get her through this situation. As I read along, I thought Dr. Forbes handled it pretty well. The only thing I would not have done was ask for any names at the time he did, just because I don't want to assume right off the bat and have a thought in my head. Some of the unresolved issues that we really look at is the biggest question is who did this? Was it a legitimate threat? And were the appropriate precautions taken? And was the district policy followed? Why is Miss Walker stuck in her ways when obviously she's not happy and neither are the students? Lastly, has Dr. Forbes sat in her classroom to truly see what is going on, or is he just going off what he hears from the parents? This is the last one's really one of those issues that I could see it both ways. Maybe he has sat in, but at the same time he does have a connection with the parents, and who knows, he may be friends with the doctors and lawyers and getting their side of it and going off. So we really need to sit down and see what's going on. When we come back and we reflect on standard 5, we look into demonstrate a sense of integrity and ethical behavior. How did I show that? Really, I think the first big thing is jumping into immediate action, treating this as a threat until proven differently. Showing the teacher that you're there, you're going to do something and figure out what to do for this. Next is finding who created this website and not jumping to conclusions. As she stated, she thought Randy might have done it, but at the same time, we can't just go right off of that. We have to sit back and kind of see what takes place. Talking to the teacher and letting her know that action is being taken. I think a lot of time teachers may report to the principal and they feel that nothing's being done, and you need to reassure them, let them know that you are there to help them. Next, again on standard 5, treat people fairly, equitably, and with dignity and respect. Um, First thing, the big thing is I did not jump to a conclusion. Personally, I did not want any names of who she thought it was because I didn't want to assume right off the bat. Getting all sides of the story, giving myself time to think and put this into perspective is a huge thing. You need to get all sides, and then maybe go in your office, shut the door, and think things over, and maybe discuss with your superintendent or another principal of what they think, and go through every scenario. And then the last thing, uh, the classroom really to me means nothing in the situation of the internet. You have to handle this situation first, and then the classroom comes next. And I know in a way that sounds bad, but when we're talking about a teacher and feeling threatened, we have to handle what is wrong with them and get them feeling comfortable, or they may not want to come back to school. On standard 5, the last one demonstrated a personal and professional code of ethics, showing immediate support for the teacher regardless of what took place in the classroom is one of the first big things that I think you got to look into with that. Taking everything into consideration and thinking through the process to take care of what took place. And then as you go through, I help teachers through this difficult time while still looking at the classroom aspect and thinking what is best for students, as it is our job to educate students at a high standard. So that real quick just went right through the case study, and we got a little bit more in depth. I know there's many different ways to look at it, and there's a lot of different perspectives that people may take. Just me, that's how I felt. You got to be there for your teachers and make sure that they get through times, and then other times we'll get you get to the other point of it. But you really had to look into the internet situation as that's what we're looking at, the violations of the internet, so we really have to concentrate on that. So that was my case study, and this is Tanner Davis. Thank you.